Man, it's been a while. It's been a long time since I can say that I'm putting on a podcast. I mean, it's been a long time coming. You know, I've been moving around. I got married. I mean, since the last time I talked to you guys, so much has happened in my life. Um, so I believe the last time that we actually spoke was, or the last time I just did one of these podcasts was after game four of last year's second round against the Devils. So I think the last thing that you guys would remember if you were watching was that was going on my bachelor party. Um, I was trying to uh, incorporate a Carolina Hurricanes game into that. I ended up being able to do that, which was amazing. I went to game five of that series, and we all know at this point how that went, as it was over a little bit over 9 months ago. Um, but yeah, I mean, first of all, what a way to end a bachelor party, right? Or was it the beginning? Yeah, I don't know. It was either the very beginning or the very end of a bachelor party. I think they played on a Saturday, so it probably was the beginning, or maybe it was a Friday. I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway, it was amazing. What an amazing way to start it off, right? Um, Moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals, where we obviously know what happened. Um, but yeah, since then things have been happening really fast. I got married, of course. Um, that happened June 3rd of 2023. Um, I now am in a new house. As you can probably see from behind me, I've got a ton of stuff cluttered everywhere, right? Um, we're continuously moving in. We've been moving in for about 6 months now. And just kind of getting accustomed to life in general in this house. And, obviously being married, it's a big commitment, obviously. And just, taking some time to kind of do that and figure stuff out. Not saying that I have anything figured out still, but I feel at least confident in the fact that, you know, we've almost been married for a year now and we're still, I mean, very happy, very happy. So, yeah, that's just a little bit of a life update that's been happening. Um, yeah, and I'm sure as I continue to do these, I plan on continuing to do these for the rest of the season. Um, I I've been watching this whole season. I don't want y'all to think that I haven't been watching. The season has had its ups and downs for sure, um, and we still have what 20 some games left. 21, I believe. Yep, there's been 61 total, so 21 games left in the regular season. And what a ride it's going to be to the end, right? So yeah, just kind of I wanted to start that off by kind of giving you some background and some insight on why I haven't been doing these. Um, Again, it's been crazy, but I'm I just got a new PC. I just upgraded the set a little bit. I figured what a better time than right now to kind of get back started with this because I enjoy it. I enjoy it thoroughly. I love watching the Carolina Hurricanes. I've enjoyed watching them since I was a young kid. Um, and, uh, what a better thing than to talk about it with other people that enjoy it as well. I think, uh, ultimately, this podcast is something that I'm not necessarily looking forward to anything big happening. But, if it does have its loyal fans and people that interact, that's good enough for me. right? Even if it's just a few friends and family members, that's fine with me because I really enjoy talking about the Hurricanes and would love for it to kind of uh, become something that I do regularly. Um, yeah, so that's just kind of the start I wanted to have here. Just kind of uh, you know lay the foundation of where I've been, what's been happening, you know, what what necessarily uh, I've been doing. Right? You probably have been wondering if you actually watch this, where has he been? Well, I'm right here. I'm ready to go again. So let's just jump right into it. I'm just going to kind of go through what the Carolina Hurricanes have gone through this year. I'm going to talk about it from my perspective, what I see. And again, my perspective is exactly that, right? I I never played hockey. I certainly have watched it for a really long time. I'm only 24 years old, right? So I'm getting to the point now where most of these younger guys are now younger than I am, um, and they've been doing it for a lot longer than me, right? I've only watched the sport. I've never played it, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, knowing that I don't, have the necessarily the expertise of, anybody, and if I'm ever critical of anybody, just make sure that you know that I am not in a position to do this. I just like the Hurricanes and I get passionate about them, as any other fan would. So um, it it is kind of a thin line that I try to draw, not to be overly critical about these guys because obviously they're one of the best NHL teams in the league right now. Um, and at the end of the day, even if they weren't, they're still professional hockey players, and I haven't skated in my life. But I do feel like from kind of seeing the game, especially before Rod Brindamore got here in 2019, um, kind of just how the progression of the Carolina Hurricanes has come along, and um, just seeing the overall boost in basically everything since then. I can't remember my first hockey game that I ever went to. Um, like I know it was a Carolina Hurricanes game, but I can't tell you who they played. Um, I can't I can't really tell you much. Just all I know was it was in between the time of 2008, 2009. I feel like around that time I would have been like 8 or 9 years old. Um, and at that time they were pretty good, but we all know what happened after that 2009 run, right? Um, just a decade of just not great hockey, right? So I've been here since you know what feels like yesterday, but it also feels like forever ago since Rod Brindamore's been here. Um, so yeah, just wanted to kind of throw that out there as well. Just a reminder that if I'm ever critical of somebody, you know, it's just my opinion. That's really it. Um, okay. With that being said, let's get into it. How I feel about this year in general. Um, what kind of things have gone on, things that I've seen, things that I am excited about, things that I'm not as excited about, or think that we need to improve on for the future. Um, so, first off, I think it's easy to see we had a really rough start, right? I mean, it was it was not a start that we're used to from the Carolina Hurricanes. I can remember, especially since Rod Brind'Amour's been here. Um, just like I'm pretty sure one year we started off 9-0. We started off. like we've started off like 5-0 ish, like every year since Ron Brendamore's been here. But this year was a little bit different. We kind of got off to a shaky start to our standards, right? Since our standards have been raised so so much higher than they used to be, our perception of how they're doing is obviously affected by that. So, it just wasn't to the standard of what we've been used to lately. Um, Probably some teams in well, not but 2010 through 2018 were probably like, yeah, I would love to have that start. But, you know, since Rod's been here, this was probably the most shaky start that we've had, other than maybe the 2019 season, right? So we just weren't getting good goaltending, and our at the beginning of the year, our penalty kill was atrocious. Um, we were somewhere in between like 75% on the kill. And that is unheard of since, Rod and um, Rod's been here. Um, it's just like it was just not a great start. Um, Obviously, Ronta this year has had a pretty down year. Um, from us waiving him, I actually went to the game before he got waived in the Nashville Predators game that we lost in overtime. That was a game that, man, you could feel it in the crowd everywhere in that building after that game, that everybody was down on Ronta. And obviously, I'm pretty sure reports came out at the time that he was pretty down on himself at that point. So, and obviously, it was a good decision to send him down to the minors for a few games, because since he's come back, he hasn't been as bad as he was. He's taken a step forward for sure. And goaltending, especially in hockey, is such a mental. It's more mental than physical on that front because we've seen it with all of our goalies this year that you know they can have one good game, one bad game, and lately with Kochetkov, um, we've had some stints where he's obviously been in his own head about things. The biggest one that stands out is the game versus Colorado. After Colorado scores a goal that would be a legit goal for any team, right? It just seems like Kochetkov was in his own head about that, and he let a red line dumper go in the net, right? So obviously, goaltending has been a huge part of this year, right? And it has been, ever since Freddie was out because of his blood clotting issues, um, it really has taken an effect on this team because Ronta was never supposed to be a number one. Especially now, like, my view on Ronta is that I love the guy. Love the guy that he is. He obviously is they call him Father Finn, right? He's an older guy. He's been around the league, and he's pretty good, but I just don't think now, especially that I think the injuries have kind of worn off on him. Um, he is when I see him moving, in the crease, it just doesn't look as fluid as it used to when he first got here, right? Um, and we've all seen he's made out of paper mache, so like he'll get hurt from one tap of somebody's, stick or something like that. Like it's rough to see it because again, I love the guy. He's a down to earth guy. You can see it. Everybody loves him in the locker room, but it's just hard to see him, have the fall off that he's had, considering that he's such a good guy, right? So it's hard to see it. And obviously that's brought in, opportunities for Kochetkov. Um, and for a minute there, we were thinking we didn't have a goalie at all. We don't have a goalie, a number one, or really even we thought maybe a number two goalie on the roster because Kochetkov was struggling. Um, we brought in um, the young goaltender Peretz for a game. Um, it yeah we were trying everything that we could, and then it kind of all turned around once we got a guy off of waivers. Obviously, Spencer Martin. To me, again, this is just my opinion. To me, Spencer Martin was the perfect guy to come in here. Somebody who was waived by the Columbus Blue Jackets, a team that's not very good defensively, right? Coming in, stepping up. He was the perfect guy to come in and give everybody a boost, right? Now, by this time, Kochetkov was playing a little bit better, right? And as of late, Kochetkov has played pretty decently. With his record up now to 16, 11, and 3. His goals against average, he's brought down a little bit to 241. And his save percentage, he's brought that up a ton to 910. So, I mean, I think, honestly, the turning point for me of this season was Spencer Martin coming in as the goaltender. Because up until he came in, who was really confident about any goaltender on this team? I know I wasn't. Because, again, Kochetkov, he would have those games where he would wow you. And he still does. He has those games where he stands on his head. He will win the game for you. And that is at his best. I think if he can do that consistently, he will be our goaltender for the future for years to come. Years to come. I think he is still growing, obviously, right? Still growing. But once we got a guy like Spencer Martin in, where Kochetkov you could see was having a little bit of, some issues mentally with how he was doing. When you get a guy like Spencer Martin in there, I think this goes, you know, I think this is less talked about than most people want to think it is. Um, Spencer Martin coming off of waivers. I mean, we thought he was going to be here for a game, maybe two, right? We were going to take him in. We were going to use him for a game, and thank you, but we don't really need you. Well, I think it's turned out that we do need him, a guy like that on the team. Because he has come in and done nothing but have a 4-0-1 record against the team that he's played. Teams that he's played in a Carolina Hurricanes jersey, right? A 197 goals against and a 922 save percentage. I mean, that's by far the best on the team, obviously with less games. But just having a guy like that where, I mean, he's got everything to lose. But to him, he's got nothing to lose, right? Because tomorrow he's going to be out of town. At least that's probably what he was thinking. But to the team, this guy has a chance, you know? To the team, this guy is somebody that can come in, and if he makes a good outing, which he did that fantastically against two of the top, you know, teams in the league. He comes in his first two games and just absolutely steals the show. Was absolutely the reason that we won those games. Right? And that gives I think I don't think this goes around and it's said enough that gives everybody a boost. Everyone. When you know the guy in the net is has your back, right? And this guy is somebody who has only been on the team for a month. I think it gives everybody, including goaltenders, Kochetkov, a boost, saying, "Hey, he gets it. You just have to play like you've got nothing to lose," and that's how Spencer Martin has played, because that's what he feels, and I think it's worn off a little bit on everybody, Kochetkov included. Um, you know, I just think it goes not said enough how much that guy has actually meant to the team and what his production has actually done for a boost in morale for the team. Um, it it's a great story, right? A great story. I don't know if it's as great as David Ayers, but Spencer Martin. I mean, it's it's fantastic. It's awesome to see a guy like that come in and just absolutely play, right? Just play, nothing to lose. You know, it's fantastic, and I think it's had a tremendous impact on how the Carolina Hurricanes have played. Now, the other thing on why Carolina, I think, has elevated its game to a new level, the power play is elite now, right? It's been multiple months now that the power play has just been an elite force to be on the ice. I mean, not many games where you're not getting a power play goal or two or three, right? Um, I just think that that has obviously given this team a boost. Um, I mean, it goes without saying, if you win special teams, you're most likely going to win the game, right? Um, if you win penalty kill, which, again, at the beginning of the year was very shaky, and since December has been the best in the league, or one of the best. Um, it goes without saying that those two things have just tremendously turned around this team since the beginning of the year. Um, it's it's fun to see, man, because I understand the past couple years that we have been knocked out of the playoffs. And you can especially say it in the Rangers series from 2 years ago. Um, Also, 2020 series when we played Boston, they just had better power plays than we did, right? Um, it's as simple as that, really. You know, we have never really had this elite power play, and I think it's both units. right? Both units of the power play have contributed tremendously to our power play. Obviously, the top line of the power play has contributed the most with Aho, Svetch, and we'll get into kind of how they're doing individually next, but it can't be overstated with the power play and its kind of elite status going into this year and hopefully transitioning into the playoffs as well. Um, what that can mean for this team going forward, um, because it just hasn't been that way. We've always had a pretty good penalty kill, right? And I mean, not pretty good, like top of the league penalty kill. We've always had kind of that kill that you can kind of, in the regular season lean on, right? But there's something about the playoffs. Every goal matters more, right? And especially those power play goals. Um, they just mean more in the playoffs. And, uh, you know, even though we would have a great penalty kill in during the regular season, you're playing teams every night that are playoff caliber, can win the Stanley Cup teams, right? You're not playing, you know, Arizona every night or Columbus every night, right? And nothing to those teams. It's just like they don't. There's an obvious reason why the teams you're playing now are better than the teams you played during the regular season, right? It's obvious, right? That's just the way playoffs work. You're playing to win the Stanley Cup at that point. Um, and you can even see it in the Florida series, right? Just power play. Um, I mean, the goal that wins it, right, on the power play, game four, right? So it just means more. Obviously, I want the penalty kill to be as close to 100% as you can, right? But in the off chance that they let in two power play goals in one game, we need these guys to go back and score two power play goals of their own, at least one, right? Because you have to win special teams to win in the playoffs. You just have to, and that is what I think we've done throughout the regular season so far, and especially since December, right? That's the big stat that everybody wants to pull up. That our our penalty kill and our power play have been elite since the beginning of December. So yeah, I just think, or it's just helped us out so much this year. Where I think in past years we haven't had that, um, and that could probably go without saying, right? Um, so yeah, obviously it is something that I would love to see it keep rolling, right? Keep rolling. We're 21 games before the playoffs, and I'd love to see that just carry right through to the playoffs. Um, yeah, love to see it. All right. Now that I've kind of talked about kind of how the year's gone, what I've seen, a lot of people have seen that too, right? I'm not the only one that's seen that. It doesn't take a genius to see it, obviously, if I'm doing it, right? So now I kind of wanted to get into the kind of either the stats of everybody or kind of just some talking points that I wanted to go over throughout the season that I've kind of picked up on. Um, so obviously, Sebastian Aho leads the team in points, leads the team in assists, leads the team in goals. I mean, he is having a year. Now, his points are a little bit down compared to some years, but I mean, 64 points, and he's played 58 games. He's more than a point per game player. And he's kind of shown that throughout his tenure, especially in the last 2 years, um, to become basically a point per game player. Uh, his, you know, he has to be a leader on this team. And that's something I kind of wanted to bring up too. I love Sebastian Aho. I love his competitiveness. You can see it more than probably anybody on this team. You can just see when he's, ready to go. You can just see it in his face. It's almost like he's angry. Like, why is this other team lined up against me? Like, I want to do everything to make sure I destroy them. Like, you can see it in his face. I can't tell you how it looks. But just look at his face, and when he's on one of his tears, you can just see it. You can just see it. His competitiveness is next to none on the team. Um, and I think everybody can see that. Everybody knows that he's the guy, you know. Um, I think that's what they want him to be. The the captain. The captain that they need him to be. Um, you know, it goes without saying that he needs to be a big contributor going forward. Um, he has an opportunity with 21 games left. He had. I'm trying to think. Let's go back to last year's regular season. He had how many points? Sebastian Aho, the 22-23 season, had 67 points. He was close to 40 goals. So he's almost done that within 58 games this season. He's at 64 right now. And of course, he had to miss a little bit of time last year, not too much. But he's at 64 points right now. Um, he's only 3 off of his total from last year, and he's 58 games in. We can definitely see a career year for him. Um, his top being in 21-22, him having 81 points that year. Um, he had 37 goals, 44 assists. I would love to see him break that. I think he can if he, keeps on this point per game streak. He'll end up with uh, 85 points if he scores a point per game in the next 21 games. Obviously, that could or could not happen, but at the rate he's going right now, 64 points in 58 games played, he can definitely make that happen. A big boost this year is the production of Seth Jarvis. Like, holy moly, this kid is going to be. And Trip Tracy says this all the time. He is, and I think I've seen it more than ever this year. He is the most natural goal scorer on this team. He just knows how to put the puck in the back of the net when he needs to, right? And I mean, don't take for granted his assists as well. He has 29 assists, 19 goals for 48 points in 61 games. He's not quite up to that Sebastian Aho point per game yet. Um, but I can see in the next couple of years, man, like he seems ready to go. Like he's really, coming to form, not only as a goal scorer but defensively. You can see him hustling back, making plays defensively that you just don't see from everybody. Like this guy is going to be great, in my opinion, or at least a great goal scorer. It just hasn't gotten to the point where I think it can be. I think his ceiling's high. I think his ceiling is very high, And if he continues in our system and you kind of, get that same production that you want from him, I think he's going to be a part of this team for a long time. I hope. I really hope, because I love this kid. I think he brings something to the team that, not a lot of guys have. I think he's just a goofy guy. You need that guy on a team. You need that guy on a good team, right? To sometimes just like bring guys down from, the exact moment that you're in. When you're not saying that Seth Jarvis isn't a great competitor, because he is. You can see it in his face too, when he really wants to get going. But just like a guy that can, for, you know, in a moment where you maybe just need, some clearance in the mind, like he can provide it. Um, just because he's a funny guy, I think. And it looks like most of the guys think that as well. Um, he's just a crazy kid, and nothing's wrong with it. Nothing's wrong with it at all. I love it. I love it, actually. Um, I'm not going to go in depth. I'm looking at a sheet of, everybody on the team. I'm not going to go in depth about all of them, but, obviously the guys at the top, I'm sorting it by points. Like, these guys are the guys that we need to kind of, keep it going throughout the playoffs. You know, Aho, Jarvis, Natchez. I think he's bounced back from, the beginning of the year. He had a pretty rough start, I believe. You know, he he had a rough start at the beginning of the year, but I think he's starting to pick it up a little bit. I want Natchez to succeed here, um, because when you see him flying around the ice, it is exciting, man. It's something that nobody else on the team has. That ability to just move, weave in and out of people. It's something that you see other teams do, that we don't. I in my opinion, we don't have enough of. We don't have enough just playmaking ability. Go out and I'm going to get to the middle of the ice and score. You know, just using speed and elusiveness. And I think Natchez has that. He just doesn't use it in an effective way all the time. And sometimes he's careless with it and comes back to bite us. I want him to work out here. Um, I think he can. I think when he's at that top and he's coming back close to kind of the point where he was at last year. Last year he had a incredible season, right? Um, in the regular season, kind of fell off towards the playoff time. I think it's good that he had that tough time in the beginning of the year this year. And he's kind of coming up now, scoring more goals, getting in on more plays, being less careless with the puck, making defensive plays, right? I think it's time for him to take another step. He needs to take the next step is producing in the playoffs. Not to say that he had a terrible playoffs last year, but he didn't come up as one of the big guys that we need, right? When I look at the lineup right now, these five guys, the first five guys that I see, Aho, Jarvis, Natchez, Teravainen, and Svechnikov, they all have to be at their top for us to eventually win the cup. And honestly, that might not even be enough. That's five. We need top six, right? We need top six. From one to six, guys that can go out there and score. And we'll get into that later. Just a little bit. I'm going to say what I think everybody wants to say, everybody needs to say. But yeah, just going back to Natchez, man, he's coming up at the right time. if there was a time to start building up your game going into the playoffs, obviously is that right time. Okay, so I would love to see it. Love to see it. Teravainen. And this is something that I didn't know, but looking at his stats, he has 108 shots, 19 goals, right? He has the highest shot percentage on this team to obviously make a goal, right? I just think Teravainen, when he shoots the puck, he's at his best. When he has a shoot first mentality, he is at his best. I think he can pick corners and, you know, he's always a guy that you just see, you know, doing things that other people can't on this team, which is have a little finesse in his shot, you know, again, picking those tiny corners that not everybody can do. Like him and Svechnikov are snipers, right? Can hit the tiniest little corner, and honestly, Aho too, right? These guys are goal scorers, right? He just doesn't shoot the puck enough for me. He always seems like he's trying to make the next pass, which is good in a lot of situations. But I would just love, he has the highest shooting percentage on the team, right? Shoot the puck. Shoot the puck. I think there's a lot of times where he makes the extra pass that we don't need. Shoot the puck. That is when he's at his best. Because then he becomes a threat, not only shooting, but he has elite passing. He is elite at passing. And I think that's why he wants to do the pass first mentality, which I get. I totally get it. I totally get it. But he is at his best when he shoots the puck because he is a threat both ways. If he shot more, I think teams would have a harder time defending him because they don't know if there's going to be a shot that picks the corner or a dime pass across the ice to a wide open net, right? I think Teravainen has that ability. He just doesn't show it all the time. It also doesn't help that they've put him on the fourth line a few times to kind of try to get Kokiniemi up to speed. We'll talk about him a little bit too. But Teravainen needs to shoot the puck. If he shoots the puck, that's when we're at our best. Highest shooting percentage, 17.6%. It's highest next to Nason at 16.7%. That's the closest behind him. And I'm not even counting Ponomarov's goal. He's only taken one shot in the National Hockey League and has one goal. If I were him, I'd just retire at 100%. That'd be amazing. I'm just kidding. But highest on the team. Shoot the puck. Svechnikov, obviously been out a lot this year. He's missed 21 games up to this point, but he's almost at a point per game, 37 points on 40 games played. His goal production is not as high as I would like it to be in those 40 games with only 13 goals. Honestly, with somebody with his talent level, he probably should have 15, 16 goals at this point. But I'm not going to complain at almost a point per game player. Has been hurt, has come back twice this season. It might just be a building year for Svech. But we need him in the playoffs. I mean, simple as that. Need him in the playoffs, right? That's when he needs to be his hottest. Going into this last stretch, again, I want him to build his game and get that goal number up a little bit. I want him to at least finish with 20 goals, which he has 21 games to do that. So I feel pretty confident that he can do that. Um, we'll see, right? But again, we need him. Need him. Um, and that's, I mean, again, those were the top five guys. The top five guys, right, that you would say for everybody. I mean, obviously our defense is our defense, right? I don't think there's a better defensive core in the league, right? I don't think there is. We got 7 NHL defenders. Not a lot of teams that can say that, right? For a guy like DeAngelo to kind of come in, you know, kind of probably was expecting to play more than he has, right? He's only played 27 games this year. But, lately, as he's been coming into games, he's been pretty good. I mean, I can't complain a ton, you know. I just think that, uh, you know, that's tough for a guy like that. Probably like him, especially with like him, because he has kind of a, this kind of chip on his shoulder type mentality, right? Um, so him probably coming in and not playing as many games as he probably wants to is, you know, a challenge for him. But I think he's handled it really well, especially in the last few games. I think he's played pretty decent. And then another guy I wanted to kind of get to, two more guys I wanted to get to. Um, they're right next to each other. Since we're on the discussion of defensemen right now, I'll go to Dmitry Orlov. Um, you know, his progression this year is, again, another rough start, right? At the beginning, I think it was, pretty obvious that he was having a tough time in our system. But he's come along very well. I believe his plus minus, not that's the end all be all stat, but his plus minus has gone from -11 to -4, right? Um, I think he benefits from playing with a guy like Chatfield who has elite speed, right? Chatfield has some of the best speed on the team, and I don't think, well, if you're within Carolina Hurricanes hockey, you kind of know it. But anybody outside of the NHL, not outside of the NHL, but outside of the Hurricanes, you know, fan base wouldn't necessarily say that, or wouldn't necessarily know that. Um, so I think he's benefited greatly. I think he's come along. Obviously, he probably would love to score more goals than he has. But I can't complain how he's played defensively lately. Um, I think, you know, he was a very big, you know, guy coming in that we were all excited about, and him having that rough start kind of tempered our expectations. But I think he's playing very, very good right now. Nothing that I can really complain about. And I apologize if you can hear me moving my mic around. As I move around, I try to move it so you guys can hear me. Um, anyway, yeah, and the last guy I wanted to get to is Kokaniemi, right? Obviously, just not a great year this year. Um, Coming into the year, he was the second line center, right? He was the second line center. And now he's on the fourth line pretty, you know, he's always on the fourth line center. They've brought in Drury, who's had a really good year, um, points wise, and he's played in, you know, all the games this year, having a really productive year as a guy that we thought was going to be a fourth line guy. Um, he's out playing Kokiniemi right now, and that's just the way it is. A lot of people were kind of critical when we brought him in, but he's still a big body. He's still, got a long way to go in his career. Um, I just don't know if it's going to end up being here. Some guys just aren't made for the system. Um, Obviously, this year I'm rooting for the best in him. I want him to do well. This was a guy that I was pretty excited when we actually did, offer sheet him from the Canadians. But just production really hasn't been there, especially this year. Has 21 points and he's played all 61 games. You know, um, you would just like to see him have a little bit more of a hand in these hockey games that we're playing. As a guy that was brought in to kind of be another one of those top guys, right? He was one of the six that we wanted him to be the second line center, right? It just hasn't worked out that way. So yeah, everybody else, I mean, we can talk about Fost and Stahl and Martinook's having a really good year. Slavin, as always, is playing tremendous defense. Um, I mean, our team is our team, right? We're really good. Obviously, one of the top teams in the league. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot left to go, but I really have a feeling that you know this year could be our year, and this is where you know the the we just need another guy. We need one more. Give us one more bona fide goal scorer, such as Jake Gensel, who I think in the next couple days is going to be on another team. Um, I think whoever gets him, it's going to be a big boost in goal scoring for that team. That guy can play. I mean, it's obvious. We've seen him play. We play against the Penguins very often in the regular season as another, Metro Division opponent. And we, poorly as some think that the Penguins do, um, they've got some pretty elite guys on their team, right? Obviously, Crosby, Malkin, but Gensel's right up there, right? As somebody who I think can come in and give us that extra boost that we need in goal scoring. Um, yeah, I mean, I think we do need to get one more guy. We've got five. Like I said, we've got five guys that I think are goal scorers, play extremely well defensively, are, sound hockey players, and can get us back to where we've been, the Eastern Conference Finals. We need one guy to score one goal against the Panthers in all of those games, and we win that series 4-0 instead of losing it 4-0, right? That's what we need. I mean, the team has not largely changed since last year. We knew we were going to be another team that is in the running for the Stanley Cup. We have to go get it. If there's one thing that I see from teams throughout the league, it's go get it, go get him, go get the guy, because it's it either works or it doesn't, right? But if you don't try, like what? what's the use of going back to the Eastern Conference Finals and losing again? Uh, Like, we're at the point now where it's pretty much Stanley Cup or bust, which is crazy considering 5 years ago we hadn't been to the playoffs in 10 years. But it's getting to the point now where everybody's saying, oh, yeah, Carolina's that team that, usually gets to that second round of the playoffs, but loses in either the second or third round. We're kind of like the Capitals who couldn't get over the Penguins, right? They lost like, I don't follow the Capitals very closely, even though I am from Virginia. I don't know how many years it was in a row, but it just seemed like every year they couldn't get past the Penguins. The Penguins were the team that stopped them. And the Penguins, that's when the Penguins were, the team. They were Stanley Cup caliber teams, right? Uh, the Capitals couldn't get past them. But once they did, they won the Stanley Cup, right? It seems like we're a guy away from doing that. And again, I just threw out Jake Gensel's name. I don't know who it's going to be. I think we need to be in the market big time for somebody. Somebody that can just score goals, right? Last year we thought it was going to be Pacioretty for us. He got hurt 3 games into him playing for this team, right? We need somebody. One guy. As good as the guys we got in here, Michael Bunting, I think he's been an extra boost in the physical factor that we've needed. I think that kind of took care of that, and he's been a big reason why, you know, physically I think we've gotten better as a team, and I think we needed that. Um, where we were just kind of the small guys. We are still relatively small when it comes to playoff caliber teams, but our physical factors, we've shown that we can play a physical game, right? Um, that game versus Florida, I mean, a 1-0 just absolute. It reminded. I mean, it could have been a game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals from last year. A 1-0 hockey game. Just physical as ever. It felt like a playoff hockey game. I wish I was at the game because that place was probably going nuts. Especially Aho scores, 16 seconds left in the game, right? I mean, just insane, right? So, but again, just one guy. We need one guy. I don't know who it is. I just need it to be a guy that's going to come in here and just absolutely light it up. I care about one thing. Can you put that puck in the back of the net? That's it. Like I said, I think Jake Gensel's that guy. He's the best guy that I think is on the market for us. But we'll see. We'll see what they think, right? We're not really used to the Canes going out and, doing something like that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else I really wanted to go over. But I think I covered goaltending. You know, we're on the up and up on that front. I think again the boost from Spencer Martin kind of coming in here and giving everybody a boost, huge, right? Not talked about enough. Um, yeah, I think I covered everything that I wanted to here. So I'm gonna get out of here. It's almost well, it's been right at an hour, so I'll let you be. Again, guys, thanks for coming back. I know it's been a long time since I've been here, but I really have wanted to do this, uh, get started back with this for a while, and I'm glad I finally have the opportunity to kind of do that. So, guys, thanks again for coming to Hunters Hockey's Hurricanes podcast, or the Triple H podcast. Um, Again, if you like the video, always leave a like. Hit the like button. You can also subscribe if you like the content that we do over here. Check out the old videos that I had. They're kind of entertaining to kind of look back on. Sometimes I do from time to time. But yeah, thanks again, and I hope to see y'all later. Bye bye.